Okay, so I actually love fall. I won't let the white women in the Pharrell hats cliche keep me from enjoying pumpkin spice. I love pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie. The season gives me an opportunity to catch up on my favorite scary movies, eat soup, and look at the leaves. Whatever. I recently started rewatching the 90s classic horror anthology, Are You Afraid of the Dark? A show supposedly for children that consistently produces some of the weirdest and objectively grim imagery found in children's programming. Brought to us by, well, partially, the US Department of Education. Thanks. The show has always existed within a cautionary context for me because I remember being 6 and seeing an ashy doll girl remove her entire hand. But regardless, I feel like the fall is a great time for us to slow down, take in changes, but also return to things that comfort us. But I am not here to talk about that. I feel like, as a weird fall baby, I enjoy more of the off-kilter, unsettling aspects of the seasons changing. Soaking in the ghost stories we've forgotten, or just processing things that have happened over the years. Which reminds me of a story that's still debated to this day. The 2008 Mars Volta record, The Bedlam and Goliath, and the validity of the story of the album's production. As a person who's only been able to parse out information from other videos, interviews, etc., can't really definitively know what exactly happened, and we'll kind of touch on some of the criticism, but I feel like it's an interesting story by one of my favorite bands. So for Halloween, we're doing a little Halloween episode. Halloween for All Hallows Eve, Halloween Town, Calabar's Revenge. Following the breakup from the post-hardcore outfit at the drive-in, Omar Rodriguez Lopez and Cedric Bixler Zavala continued on creatively with an experimental dub project called De Facto, with most of the members from that project going on to form the progressive rock outfit, the Mars Volta. With Omar and Cedric taking the creative lead, they're known for combining elements of jazz, experimental, and Afro-Latin elements into their heavy emotive rock compositions. After a short EP, their first album, Deloused and Comatorium, upped the ante in regards to songwriting and compositional ambition. Also to be noted, the band has always consisted of a majority of non-white members during an abundant era of, let's call them twiggy white men writing songs about gaslighting and slut-shaming women. You had to be there, I guess. What stayed consistent with TMV were broader concept records, the first two centering loss. For the uninitiated, Deloused and the Comatorium is a highly psychedelic concept album in which the protagonist, Serpent Text, enters a week-long coma induced by morphine and rat poison. In the span, he explored the untold realm of his consciousness, which manifests a collage of fever dream imagery. It is based on a short story written by Bixler Zavala and sound manipulation artist Jeremy Michael Ward, and alludes to the death of their friend Julio Venegas. While their second album, Francis the Mute, is inspired by a diary found by Jeremy Michael Ward while he was working as a repo man. That follows the character Cygnus as she unpacks the history of her mother. I feel like that's all I can say without ruining what happens. And interpretations are kind of subjective around what that album's about in the first place. But there are key signifiers. Regardless, these two records are very precious, and if you are nerdy enough to give them a listen, you'll probably be better off for it. The band continued to release impressive, be it very niche music until 2012. They took a 10-ish year hiatus and then released their most recent project in 2022. The Mars Volta is also known for working with some of my favorite drummers, starting with Blake Fleming, the powerhouse John Theodore, lead-footed Thomas Pridgeon, the infinitely creative D'Antoni Parks, and now the pocket genius Philo Tsungi. Without this band specifically, I don't think I would have been motivated to pursue music or drums. So what exactly happened with the band's fourth record, The Bedlam and Goliath? So the story starts in 2006 when Omar brought a Ouija board back from Jerusalem as a gift of inspiration for Cedric. Personally, 2 red flags right there. Taking a cursed item from occupied land is the start of so many horror stories, but obviously it gets worse. They messed around with it in the tour bus while on tour with Red Hot Chili Peppers. Again, another red flag. This man is cursed. Let me stop. I'm being kind of messy. While using the board, they found poetic messages written in it in a few different languages. They hired 2 folks to translate said messages, and one of them quickly refunded the money and said that they wanted nothing to do with them, which is smart. Again, horror movie indicators right there. The other translator was able to figure some of the messages out, mostly that they were meant to be sung, and left them a cryptic, "you'll figure it out" message before departing and letting them figure it out. Again, hard no for me. Anyways, by using the Ouija board, they came into contact with a spirit named Goliath. Well, kinda. It seemed to be 3 spirits that were in tumultuous relation to each other. Apparently it was a man, a woman, and her daughter. With the man taking the more aggressive, volatile role in communication, these spirits helped with the songwriting process for the album, coming up with the majority of song names and informing the lyrical structure. I think a helpful bit of information here is that Cedric was on a little bit of a writer's block. And the Mars Volta were, as a band, putting in a lot of work, releasing about 1 album a year, writing and previewing new material while constantly touring. So, to match their previous output, it was important that Cedric got as much writing done as possible. I swear to God, this sounds like a Stephen King novel. So many red flags. Anyway, the spirit went on to request offerings from the band. Small things, easy to appease. What's a flower or a bottle of rum there when you have an album to write, right? Well, in classic horror movie fashion, eventually the spirit wanted a host to trade places with and escape the board. Didn't see that coming at all. And at this point, a normal person would burn this cryptic board or seek magical help to avoid some kind of hex, right? Well, the band understandably refused to be or find the host, and that's where things get really creepy. First thing in a series of misfortune is the fact that the drummer, Blake Fleming, quit the band mid-tour, which was a heavy financial gut punch. Can't really blame him. Gotta avoid that bad juju. Second, Cedric had a severe foot injury that required surgery and physical therapy. Juan, the bass player, also was diagnosed with an uncommon blood disease, but everybody was good to keep going. They hired another drummer. Juan was still good to play, and they wanted to finish making the album, hoping that the misfortune would pass. However, based on what I found in interviews, one of their production engineers had a mental breakdown during recording, stole some of the tapes from the album, believing that they were evil or cursed, and that he was being put through it. They had to hire other engineers and get folks to break into this person's home to retrieve the demos and reference tracks.
Was there any main event that stood out the most?
The nervous breakdown of our engineer. Yeah. Him going crazy. Hijacking the tapes, stealing them, us having to hire people to break into his house and take our album back from him.
I know what you're thinking. This record's definitely cursed. I'm somehow not even done. Tracks went missing, equipment didn't work correctly, files disappeared in session. Reportedly, Omar's studio flooded twice. No other room in the house, just the studio. 2 times. So many things. Eventually leading to Omar breaking the board and burying it in an undisclosed location. The band then chose to counteract or balance the negative energy on what they had already completed by writing more upbeat songs. The new drummer brought brighter energy, and this seemed to soothe the malevolent energy of the curse. They were able to finish recording the record towards the end of '07, releasing it the following year. And the album actually did very well. It's one of my favorites from them, even though with the context added, the songs are kind of creepy now. It was well reviewed, earned them their one and only Grammy nom and win, which isn't surprising because the drum recordings fucking slap. And they go on to release more music, tour, and do other shit without any otherworldly interference. And that's the story behind the Bedlam and Goliath. Initially, I wasn't buying it. Neither was the core TMV fanbase. I mean, the story hits so many classic horror story beats. It's compelling, creepy, and brilliant marketing. I'm well aware that Omar and Cedric are notoriously hard to work with. The music is extremely difficult to play, and the way that they make you write is weird and kind of leaves the player out of the cognizant composition process. So maybe the drummer left because he was fed up. There's no way to confirm anything else, and this band is kind of known for trolling their fan base. I mean, you can just look at how goofy a lot of the videos released for the album's promotion were. No shade at all. It looks like they're having a good time. My point is that the tone of the vids were not so serious. Kind of playful even. Which, if you think about it, kind of plays into the goal of actively counteracting the curse by being hyper positive. Some folks insinuated that they might have been on heavy substances, which inspired why the record is weird. But based on interviews and how they were performing at the time, I find that kind of hard to believe. As a performer myself, I think it would be really hard to nail all of those transitions and whatnot if you're constantly messed up or hungover. Just my thoughts from my personal experience. But still, I wasn't really buying the story. Mainly because I didn't believe ghosts and spirits were like a real thing. Well, until I had an experience with them a few years ago. Okay, so the reason I brought this story to you, outside of actually loving the Mars Volta and wanting an excuse to actually write about one of the records that I love and one of the bands that I love, is that this album hits kind of different after I personally feel like I might have saw a ghost. I'm gonna try to give timestamps and provide some text from that experience to fully contextualize what happened. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. If you're still watching this and you're what I would call a Weenie Hut Junior, this story is probably a little scary and you should watch it with a courageous adult or fellow weenie. In 2021, as I discussed here, I had the opportunity to tour with the band Algiers, third leg of which involved a nice collection of shows on the West Coast. It's a beautiful experience, being able to see the ocean, passing by the woods, with spotty cell service, taking pics, peeping seals, good times. Okay, so we have this travel day. In between shows, we spend the entire day driving, and we eventually make it to our hotel in the early evening. We roll into the hotel around 7:30. At this point, we've been on the road all day, and I'm pretty sure no one really ate since the early afternoon. So, everyone's hungry. We get in, drop our stuff off. The lobby's pretty packed, but I loosely noticed that's a little off. Partially because during the drive up, Tristan, our tour manager, mentioned that the hotel we're staying in is famous for being haunted. Anyway, the lobby is full of folks. It's cute, full of Latin uncles and aunties, but they're all dressed like they're from the 80s. Not a big deal, just something that I noticed before we headed up to our rooms. You know, wearing the big shoulder pads and all that. But we head up to our rooms and put the group chat over here. Excuse the time difference, I live in Ohio, and it automatically adjusts when you travel. We typically stay two to a room. Usually I room with Frankie. Anyway, everyone splits up, gets their own food. I remember really wanting fried rice, so I got that. Absolutely demolished that in my hotel room. And as you can see, everyone went in different directions. Frankie sends a collection of pics, as well as clearly states that he's going to the bar, connected to the hotel to have a drink, eat some food, and watch the game. I'll put the pics up as well. I peeped the group chat and plan on meeting Frankie and hopefully the rest of the band at the bar and have a drink around 9ish after I finished eating. I finished eating and used the pics that Frankie sent in the group chat to kind of explore and chart my way to the bar where he's eating. However, as soon as I leave my room, the lights flicker a little bit. Kind of weird, but I think nothing of it. The hallways are generally pretty dark, and this place has a strange, underlit vibe. Kind of creepy. Old paintings on the wall, cliche horror movie vibes. I make it to the elevator, take it down to the first floor. The door opens. A little girl wearing a black and white polka dot dress and pigtails laughs and skips onto the elevator as I get off. I don't really think about it. I've been in and out of hotels for about a month or so already. So, just walk through the lobby. No one's there. I parse through the rooms that Frankie has sent in the pics. They're empty. I specifically remember this picture of Kiefer Sutherland for some reason, and make my way to the bar/restaurant area. I see the TVs, the popcorn machine. Everything in the place is completely empty. Like I'm all by myself. No one's there. No one's working the bar. No one's behind the front desk. The TVs are off. My bandmates aren't even there. So I figured I'm just in the wrong place. I go back up to my room and text the group, "Where's the bar?" 20 minutes later, they answer, and I give it another shot. Again, I leave my room. Lights flicker. It seems like one of the paintings might have changed a little bit, or maybe I'm freaking myself out. I don't know. I get on the elevator, get to the first floor, and the exact same little girl laughs and skips onto the elevator as I get off. Like the exact same way. Same movements, same laugh, everything. Go to the bar area, still empty. Everything's off. There's like an exterior walkway to the bar as well, so I try walking up that to walk into the bar. It's locked. I can't get in. I record a video of me walking back to my hotel room. I figured I shouldn't think too much about it. Whatever's going on will pass. Get into my room and I just go to sleep. Think what you will, but I legit don't know what I could have done in the first place. So I sleep fine, I think. Get up early. Frankie's sleeping peacefully. I know we had a mid-morning lobby call, so I wanted to get some laundry done. Scope out a Rite Aid. It's a beautiful morning. I remember it being super hot. And the streets are pretty empty and quiet. In the distance, I see and can kind of hear a woman who seems to be in all-white sleepwear, kind of groaning. I'm a little creeped out. We're the only two people on the street, but hurry up to the store, grab what I need, and then find an alternate way to walk back to the hotel to do laundry. before me and the band get the hell out of there. And yeah, the rest of the tour was reasonably smooth, and I didn't really think much about this experience until I saw...
Are you sure you want to know? So this will technically be my part 2 to some of the most haunted schools in California, which is Santa Maria High School, located in Santa Maria, California. But could it be what's haunting the auditorium could be connected to what's across the street from Santa Maria High School? Let's get started. So right across the street from Santa Maria High is the 106-year-old Santa Maria Inn. It was built in 1917 by Frank McCoy, and it was a humble hotel room at 24 rooms, and has been a beautiful landmark of the Central Coast. This is a place where people would stop when they were traveling on the El Camino Real, along with many famous Golden Age movie stars such as Charlie Chaplin, Cecile DeMille, and Rudolph Valentino, who is claimed to be haunting one of the rooms in the hotel. Now it's time for the ghosts. It is rumored that Rudolph Valentino haunts room 221, as people claim that he hear him knocking at late hours in the night and have felt and even seen him sitting at the foot of their bed. Room 210 is haunted by what people claim to be the ghost of a sea captain that people have claimed to have seen a few years since the hotel was built. Another ghost is a ghost of a young woman called Peppy. That's what she is. She's just a peppy ghost. You stayed at the Santa Maria.
Apparently, Santa Maria, California is very haunted. The Santa Maria Inn is said to be haunted. So is the Santa Maria High School Auditorium. And so is the corner of Blosser and Foster next to Pioneer Park. Local legend says that a woman was murdered and buried by the trees on this corner. Now her ghost is said to wander the area. On a moonless and windy night, it is said that her cries can be heard, and people have caught glimpses of her walking the road. They say she's dressed in white. Sometimes she's seen in the back of cars. She laughs and then disappears when the driver sees her in the rearview mirror.
I'm never going back to Santa Maria, California again. And definitely not staying at the Santa Maria Inn. And that's all I got. What do you think? Do you believe the story behind the Bedlam and Goliath? Or was it just a publicity stunt? Do you think it's real? More importantly, what do you think happened to me? I'm still processing it. Have you seen a ghost? Please leave your reply in the comments, and I'll probably shout out my fave in the next video. If you like this video, remember to actually like this video. It helps me a lot in the algorithm. And if you really like this video and like what I make, consider joining my Patreon like all these lovely people scrolling by here. And with that, peace and ward off evil spirits, I guess.